Do you like to binge watch TV? Did you know you could binge listen to podcasts? Head over to electronicmediacollective.com, where they have podcasts for days. You like podcasts about wrestling? They have that. Do you like podcasts about TV and film? They have that. Do you like podcasts about horror? EMC has that too. Do you like comedy? Do you like books? Guess what? They've got you covered. Head over to electronicmediacollective.com. Pick your favorite podcast today.
This is a warning to all living mortals. Moose will release 13 of the most terrifying interviews of horror onto the world.
Welcome back, Horror Hounds, to another installment of the 13 Horrifying Days of Christmas. I'm your host and gift giver, Moose, and joining us today to talk about her career and newest movie is rising star, the lovely Lydia Manson.
Thank you. I think you're being a very complimentary with that, but thank you.
Well, I mean, just off the bat, I've been following you for a while, and you're definitely on the right track. You know, each movie's a little has a little bit more meat behind it. Each role is a little bigger, and so I mean, you're getting more and more roles, so you're definitely on the right trajectory, and you have the potential. I mean,
well, thank you.
Just from a viewer standpoint, you have you draw people in.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that.
What got you interested in acting?
Honestly, I really just fell into it. It wasn't like, it was never part of my plan. It was not like a dream growing up or anything. I even still have moments where I'm like, why am I doing this? It's, but a friend of mine was cast in an indie film and I was supporting it just to support her. So I was following it, and the director of the film, he had posted that he was looking to fill a couple roles. She told me to go for it, so I did. And here I am.
And I mean, I'd say you haven't looked back, but I mean, let's face it, every time we set our sights on a career path, at some point we always look back. Whether
I still don't really feel of it as like a career. I don't know. I'm still learning like a lot, and I don't do a ton of projects. So I just try to learn as much as I can on each one to bring to the next one. Maybe one day it'll be a career. I don't know. We'll see.
There is one thing that I've noticed that you do very well, and
no.
And I was wondering how taxing it was. You have a very convincing, like blood-curdling scream.
Oh.
And I was just like, as I watch these projects, and like it's not one of those where it's dialed back and it has to be amplified later. Like, it is a legit, like, belly scream. And I was curious if that's, like, taxing the next day, or if you've, learned how to do it to where, like, it doesn't tear up the throat and all that stuff.
I just kind of go for it. I don't really think about, like, how I was going to feel the next day or anything. But a lot of those like emotional scenes, they are very taxing, like even in the moment. Like we're going to be coming and talking about the Vord in a little bit. And I had some very emotional scenes in that. And, you call cut and you're still like in the moment and everybody's like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I just need a minute to bring myself back down, but you just kind of go into like a dark place, and it's very taxing. It takes a toll.
Well, I can imagine. And I mean, listeners know that I've covered Reunion from Hell 2 a lot, from like early on in marketing to as recently as like July. And, I've talked with Hayden about it a bunch, and, even she'll tell you that, every time I talk about it, your emotional breakdown scene in that movie is one of my favorite scenes, because it's so believable. It's relatable. and it's real. You're not. It doesn't feel like you're watching a movie at that point. It feels like you're watching somebody have a legitimate breakdown or a response to what's happening in that moment, and it really pulls you in.
I appreciate that. I did the worst thing, which was, of course, look up reviews. And I was listening to a podcast that somebody had done on Reading from Hell 2, and they had said how I was just like a toss away character and not memorable, and how my crying was overacting. And I really let it get to me for a while. And I'm like, you can't do that in this business, because there's always going to be someone that says you're not doing it right or doing it well. So I appreciate you saying that.
Well, I mean, and I've told you before, you definitely deserve it. I mean, it's unfortunately, like you said, everyone's always going to have a negative opinion about something.
Yes.
And that's where it kind of falls, where not everything's for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think in this instance, Reunion from Hell probably wasn't that person wasn't the target demo for Reunion from Hell. Having done a couple live screenings of Reunion from Hell, I can tell you the live audiences were drawn into your character and that scene as well.
That makes you feel better.
So, yeah, for every one hater, from my personal experience, there's at least 2 people that really latched on to, if not the whole character, at least that specific scene, because that's a very relatable. I mean, hell, I just went through it myself. Just had a mental breakdown not that long ago.
I'm so sorry. It's so hard.
Life gets to you after a while.
It does. It really does.
So, and that's one of the things I find I'm liking more and more about indie films is they're more relatable and almost more real than big studio films. And the actors and actresses are bringing more of their own personality to the roles. Mm-hmm. And I think, at least I've always been under the impression that you guys almost have to. And I wanted to ask, in all these different roles, how much of you has been the role and how much was just written out on page?
So I would say for most of the roles I've had, there's maybe only been 1 or 2 that I didn't really feel that closely connected to. But I would say a good 90 to 95% of roles I've had, I feel like we're just me in a different form, if that makes sense. Obviously we get the script, we get the words, but they don't mean anything until we say them. And a lot of times, just because it's written on paper one way, I always check and make sure it's okay with the director. Because in Reading from Hell 2, for instance, when we first get to the log cabin, I had a line, and I talked to Hayden about it, and I said, Hayden, I was like, if I say this line the way it's written, I was like, it's going to come off very sarcastic, and I don't want it to, because I'm like, I don't talk that way. It's not like a sentence that would come out of my mouth. And when I was rehearsing it and trying to say it, it was coming off very sarcastic, and that was not what the intention of the sentence was supposed to mean. So I was able to change it to fit more of me into it, to make it seem more believable. So I try to do that with a lot of my roles, is just, even changing a word or 2 helps a lot with the meaning of a sentence in a script. And it's great that a lot of directors allow you to do that.
Honestly, I haven't come across a character of yours yet that I don't like. So
thank you.
It is interesting though to see you on screen as opposed to this and our online interactions, because this and our online interactions, you're soft spoken, you're reserved, you're this quiet, almost timid person, and then you're on screen and you're this confident, just powerhouse badass, and it's all right, it's there somewhere.
Right now, there is no confidence. There's zero. I always laugh because you have to have a social media persona. And, you know, people always tell me, oh, you seem so cool, blah, blah, blah. You do all these things. You must be so fun. And I'm like, I am very sorry to disappoint you. I was like, I was like, you're going to be very disappointed when you meet me in person. I was like, because I am very quiet. I am more of an introvert. It takes me a minute to like go up and talk to people. Even Tom D'Amico, I've been in 2 shorts of his, and we talk all the time about different projects we're working on and things we want to do. And he always laughs at me because when we would be like filming and stuff, something as simple as like I go into a store and if I'm looking for something in particular and they don't have it, he laughs at me because I'm like, I have to buy something because if I leave and I don't have anything, they're going to think I'm stealing and I can't have that. And like, that's just who I am as a person. So it's great that you think I have confidence on screen, which I guess is the point, but in reality, it is far from that. I'm very self-conscious. I am very soft-spoken. I get told all the time that I'm a low talker. So I try to be conscious of that when I'm filming and talk a little bit louder, but I am naturally pretty quiet.
Well, I'll say it definitely does stand as a testament to your acting ability to basically bring out this whole other side that isn't you. Because, we've been, chatting on and off online now for since Reunion from Hell 2 started. And, it's your short messages, just very calm. And like I said, you're a very reserved, timid person. And just even communicating here. But then you get to seeing you on screen and, you're this, regardless of the role, you're this like strong, confident female character, and it's just like, well, shit. Okay, cool. That's not the person I've been talking to.
It's difficult. I guess when I'm filming, believe me, I'm beating myself up in between each and every single take. I'm like, oh man, I messed up that word. I shouldn't have looked that way. I should have been doing this, and I guess I always feel like I have something to prove in each scene, in each film, and each thing I do. I feel like I always have to prove myself, and to not only like the audience, but to myself that like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like, I always have that in the back of my head. Like, so I guess that's what I'm trying to prove. And now it's gotten even difficult because, the last couple of years I've changed a lot physically. So nobody even recognizes me anymore. And they're like, who are you? And it's just getting very difficult because I ask myself the same question now. I'm like, I don't know who I am anymore. Like, I look completely different. I sound different. I feel like it's just, I'm not the person I was a couple of years ago. And I'm sure in a couple of years, I won't be the person I am now. And it's just, how life goes.
Yes, but the looks were a conscious decision, and it good for you.
Thank you.
I've been trying the same thing for the last 15 years, and it hasn't exactly paid off. So
it's very difficult. It took me a very long time to get serious about it. And I ended up, for anyone that has no idea what I'm talking about, over the last 2 years, I'd lost 100 pounds. And, it started with, I was counting my calories and making sure I was doing my protein, solely focused on that. And then, I had lost like 70 pounds and it didn't really look that different. Like nobody had really said anything, which was fine. Like, but, I was doing it for myself. And then the last like 20, 30 pounds, I was like, oh man, like how crazy would it be to lose 100 pounds. Right. So then I started like getting in my head about it. And I'm like, I need to just lose this. And I got very unhealthy about it. And I I had started at 248. I ended up getting down to 136. And it got to the point where I was literally just not eating. And everybody's telling me, oh my God, you look so great. You look amazing, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm just like, if they knew like what I was doing just to keep this up, like literally not eating for a couple, and it's just terrible. And I finally, started eating again, trying to get back on track. And I put some weight back on to get in a more healthy space. And I'm just trying to maintain it now. But it's one of the most difficult things is getting started and just staying with it. It's so difficult.
I say it's definitely not an exaggeration when they say that a diet's a lifestyle change. It's not just as simple as, oh, I'm going to change what I'm eating.
I tell people that all the time. They're like, oh, I'm going to go on a diet. I'm like, no, you're not going to go on a diet. I was like, because if you go on a diet, you're going to fail. I was like, you need to have a lifestyle change. Everybody's like, oh, I'm going to cut out sugar. I'm going to do keto. I'm going to do paleo. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this diet. And I'm like, no. I'm like, you don't have to do that. I'm like, when you cut out entire food groups, I'm like, you're going to end up binging and you're going to end up in the exact same position that you are. And you're going to feel even worse about it because you're going to think, oh, I put in this work and I just failed. I tell people, I'm like, you need to figure out your maintenance calories. All you got to do is go to the TDEE calculator. That'll give you your maintenance calories. You subtract 300 to 500 calories from that. And that's what you eat per day. Whatever you want to eat, as long as it fits in those calories, you will lose weight, because losing weight is as simple as calories in versus calories out. That it is a scientific fact. That's what it comes down to. Some people have struggles with other things, yes, but that is what it is. As long as you keep your calories in check, you will lose weight. You know, it's the biggest. Everybody like, I work out. That's great, and it's I love the phrase, you can't outrun your fork. Because it doesn't matter how much effort you're putting in the gym. If your diet is not good, it doesn't matter. And people are like, oh, well, I worked out. I burned an extra 300 calories, so I can go eat that. I can go eat that now. No, that's not. Food should not be a reward. And it took me a very long time to realize that, because I'm like, oh, if I lose 15 pounds, then I can go and I can have this. But it's like, no. Because then I'm constantly in the mindset that food is always a reward. And I finally had to get to the point where I'm like, food is here for me to live. And I had to get past that, past that I enjoy it and all that stuff. Because it was affecting my health. I was very unhealthy. Not that I'm healthy now, because I'm still dealing with the issues I created for myself, and I'm rambling and I'm sorry. I don't even... People are probably going to turn it off right here.
Listeners of this show know that it's a very open forum. And one of the things that we focus on are the guest stories. And it's part of your story. You set out to make that lifestyle change. And we as people do, ended up overindulging the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And now you're reeling it back. It happens. Did you get your goal? Yeah, you just overdid it. Mm-hmm. And it's going to take a little bit to dial back in. And it's part of your story. It
is.
You have to own it. And somebody listening to this might be going through the same thing, and they'll learn from it. So it's one of the things I like about how I do this show is I always, like I said, I run it as an open forum. All mm-hmm. stories are welcome, because who knows what the listener's going through, and what nugget will help somebody who's going through something. Mm-hmm. And as you were talking about the food reward system, it hit me that we as people treat food and money the same. Well, especially calories and money. It's, I burned extra calories so I can eat extra food. Mm-hmm. I just got this bonus. I can go spend more money. That's not how we should be reacting as, because that's exactly how we end up broke and in debt or overweight and out of shape. It's very correlative. Mm-hmm. It's interesting how the human mind works.
Isn't it? And then you lose the weight, and then you realize, you always hear like body dysmorphia, and you're like, But I'll tell you, that MFer is real, and it is a son of a bitch. It is probably the most difficult part of the journey.
It can definitely it can be bothersome.
It can.
But let's jump into the new movie, The Vord.
Yes, The Vord. Well, streaming world. Yep. Well, I don't know if it's streaming worldwide yet, because I have had a few people from the UK reach out, ask it, and they haven't been able to. I apologize. But Right now, it's available on Fandango, which used to be Vudu, Amazon Prime. You can rent or buy it on YouTube, Google. So a few different places that you can see it now. And I'm so if you watched it, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Fun movie. I mean, two and spots are hard to follow,
Yes.
but overall, really good.
I mean, I have the script and I still am like not fully aware of some things. So that just it's some if you like movies where you have to pay attention and like are picking up details, this is the movie for you.
This is definitely a movie where you almost have to hyper focus because if you get distracted a little bit, you're gonna get lost. There's a couple weird time. There's like I think 3 weird time jumps in the movie. And I was like, oh shit, this is happening. Okay, and then kind of caught on that. Yep, nope, need to definitely pay attention. All right. So we,
because if you notice, technically all of my scenes are essentially like flashbacks.
Yes. And, you start out with these 2 brothers fighting, almost a Cain and Abel story, except it's over a girl. And somehow that was
I
a
will
little
tell
rough.
you an interesting little tidbit. I was originally supposed to play that girl. I was only as Tove.
Wow.
That was the character I was supposed to play. And 2 weeks before filming, something happened to the first I was supposed to play Katrina and the direct switch. And now this is 2 weeks before cameras roll. And I was like, no, the role of Tove, she doesn't have like maybe a line, but that was pretty much it. And now I go into, not that it's a huge role, but it's an important role in the, and I was like, okay. I'm like, so fun little tidbit.
So definitely. And then, you play this, not a good mom, but a trying mom.
Mom who's trying to figure things out.
As I say,
thought she was doing the right thing.
As I say, she's trying to figure out what's best for her, best for her kid. And it's kind of caught between religions. So I guess a normal mom. And this whole chain of events in motion for the rest of the movie. And what's fun is we get to see you run this like range from scared to overconfident to angry to depressed to, I mean, like, I think you hit just about every possible emotion in this film. And that was much.
Thank you. Interesting character to play.
So what was it like on set?
It was cold. So I was very lucky because we actually filmed about half an hour from my house. So I at least got to go home to my bed every night. But I live in like central, and we shot in March of 2023. So it's still pretty cold out. And I have a pivotal scene, which I won't spoil for anyone, that involves, an outdoor area of water, and it was freezing. Beautiful landscapes, MT, and I'm gonna butcher her last name, and I'm super sorry. She told me how to, and I'm still gonna say it wrong. Maliha, the director, she chose some great locations. Some awesome areas that we filmed in, old churches, like really great place. So really beautiful. Like when we were filming, it was great because, for instance, Reunion from Hell 2, we most one location, so to be on films where you're going to these different places is interesting. Filming in one location too, can trick the viewer into thinking that you have these different places that aren't there, as opposed to when you're going to all these different places. So, it's interesting on both sides.
Well, and, you mentioned the set locations, and the shooting locations, gorgeous. And she did a phenomenal job picking where this is going to be shot at. And, when you're watching an independent film, you expect hiccup. Whether it's, some of the dialogue's a little choppy, some of the acting's a little rough from time to time. But as a whole, the production, the cinematography, the overall acting, everything in this movie was notch. I mean, as a team.
Yeah, we had a lot of very talented people on set. Steve Walenda, he is the guy with the beard. This was, first time meeting literally almost everybody but one person on set. Actually, one guy is in the film who played Jordan, by the actor name is Sixto. He's actually a friend. He was the only person I knew. And when I was watching Steve like play his character, I don't know if you've ever watched the show One that they had on ABC. And I was looking at Steve and I was watching him and I was like, I asked him, I was like, have you ever watched this show? And he was like, no. And I was like, you remind me exactly of the character Rumpelstiltskin.
Yes.
From that show. And I was like bringing up clips on YouTube and showing him and telling him, I'm like, it's amazing to watch. Like, it was just awesome. It was, and that was really cool. And, I got to with Chico Mendez. He was in The Forest Hills, which was, Shelley Duvall's film. And we had, a very pivotal scene together. And, for me, I've noticed through films, there's not like a lot of, but Chico and I had gone off and we were over our scene. And I learned and I was so thankful that I had as a scene partner for that because I learned so much. And I'm very grateful for everything he helped me with that. So a lot of great people overall on, Scott Hand was the cinematographer. He did some great shots. So thank you for that. And just lots of great people overall.
Watching Steve's character, definitely one of the highlights of the film.
Mm-hmm. I told him, and I was like, "You in, bro."
He brings so much energy to the scenes,
and he didn't, and he doesn't believe it in himself. He wasn't thinking he was doing a great job, and I was telling him, I'm telling you, I think you're doing awesome. So I hope he realizes what a good job he done.
So, listeners, you check out this movie. Steve's character is definitely one to watch. You'll know him. He pops up a lot, and
he's like the devil there.
Yeah, and God, he does so well, so convincing. Even I wanted to do what hell he was saying. I'm just watching the movie, So he definitely has that influential side that works.
Yeah, he did an awesome job. It was great watching him play that character. And now every time I watch Rumpelstiltskin, I'm going to think of Steve, you know, and be like, you're on par, dude, with like this. And I wish I knew the actor who played him. I cannot think of it off the top of my head. And his was like critically acclaimed. So,
I say they both have that. They both have that same like dark whimsy, and they bring an impish vibe to the character, and it's not the standard dark. It's more of an evil imp, and that just like a demonic character. He's like this guy who is stuck essentially in purgatory, and best way he can cope with. And that's how he deals with life. There's so much more I want to talk about on this movie, but I'll wait a few months.
You got it.
A few months from now, let's sit back down and we'll do a deep dive into this movie after people have had watch it.
Well, MT, the director, she's actually she's going to be doing for the Vord. I don't know if it's like a prequel or after, or I don't know exactly, but she is working on it. So there will be more to the story. Questions will be answered. When we did the first screening and people were asking questions, they're like, well, what wanted you to have those questions at the end of it? So
keeps you engaged.
Yes.
I'd say it is a very open-ended ending. And you're just like, because you're not quite sure, is it a happy ending? Is it a sad ending? It's an ending. And you're like, well, shit. And I watched it twice just to make sure I didn't like miss something at the end. I'm like, no, that's how it ends. Okay, cool. And I was like, I really hope there's something more later because this ending is just so broad. It just doesn't close,
There will be more.
So where can listeners keep up to date with the projects you have coming out?
So I will tell anybody that, if they're going to watch the Vord, the director had come up with like a contest of sorts. So if you take a selfie of yourself, Vord on in the background, upload it to your Instagram, your Facebook, and You can tag the Vord Instagram, you can tag the Vord Facebook group, and whoever photo has the most likes or hearts or, reactions at the end, which will be January 1st, the number one person of a chance to be in the series, the limited series. So if anybody's interested in that, the opportunity is out there. And then you can check out .com for anything, but for anything related, Facebook tends to be like my biggest social media platform. I try to get on the Instagram. Really, I'm trying to be more on that. I'm working on it. So Facebook is Lydia Manson, and the Instagram is Lydia Manson 88. I have a tick, Lydia Manson 88. I don't post a lot on there. I post video funny every once in a while. I finished a film in August called Camera X. I actually got to be a director, so I was behind the camera a lot, which was a real learning experience. And then I had a short role at the end of the film. Next year, I will be in a film called Caught in My Eye, I'm sorry. And it's a horror film by a director called William Instone. And it's about the Goldilocks killer. And just to show you like Will gets in his films, the wig for Goldilocks killer, he's actually had blonde-haired women actually cut off hair, and he has used that to help make the wig in the film. Yes, so very interesting. And then on another project, it's called Hell's Gate. I get to be assistant director on that, so I'm super excited about that. It's becoming a much bigger film than I think any of us had intended it to be, which could be good and could be bad. And then I get to play the character of Kelly. But Hell's Gate it's a cult. It's about a cult, basically the extension of the Charles Manson family. So it's taking place later on. So I kind of made it to like where Helter Skelter ended for Manson. Hell's Gate kind of takes over for Keith, who is our a lot of crazy like
fun things coming.
Yes, the Vord is not really super, more like psychological. Gate will definitely be more of the gore horror that you're used to. It does have more of a story. I appreciate that. I like a storyline instead of just we're killing people. So that one is interesting. I love true crime and stuff, so that one has been interesting on behind the scenes right now. So fun things in 2025 to do.
Very nice. Listeners, those links will be in the episode description. You can find me and other great podcasters over at electcollective.com. Follow me over at Moose's Monster Mash on Facebook and Moose Media Inc. on YouTube. Lydia, this has been fun.
Thank you for having me back. It's been a while. Thank you for thinking of me.
And we'll, like I said, we'll definitely do this again where we can deep dive into the Vord. When one of the other projects drop, and we can talk about one of those. Like I said at the beginning, Rising Star. I'm definitely looking forward to what's coming.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It truly means a lot. Thank you.
Well, you earned it. Check out the Vord. Check out her other projects. And come back tomorrow for another installment of the 13 Horrifying Days of Christmas. And until next time, Horror Hounds, mash on.
This has been Moose's Monster Mash. Come back for more chills and thrills if you dare.
Has a little bit more meat behind it. Each roll is a little bigger.